It is incredibly important as a solopreneur when you're wearing all the hats you mentioned before, Kirby, including that of janitor. You've got to manage your time well.
Hey there, and welcome to a brand new episode of Delivering Marketing Joy. I am your host, Kirby Hausman. Joining me today is the ultimate repeat rock star. He's a speaker, he's a content creator, he's an entrepreneur, he's a coach. He's also a solopreneur, and he's the CEO and founder of Brandivate. Bill Petrie, buddy, thank you so much for joining me again.
Thank you for having me in your illustrious new studio. This is the first time I've been on your new studio, your virtual new studio. Always fun for you and I to collaborate and chat and get together. So thanks for having me.
You bet, buddy. You bet. Well, one of the reasons I wanted to have you on is just, I know you're speaking at PPAI Expo coming up here very soon. And the title caught my attention, the Solopreneur Circus, Branding Tools and Tactics. So in a world where solopreneurs wear every hat, like marketing, sales, service, and product, I wanted to kind of ask you what one truth is that you think most of them overlook when it comes to branding.
Great question. I think the short answer is that solopreneurs are too busy surviving to build the one thing that will help them thrive. From my experience, they're caught in the loop of hustle, deliver, invoice, repeat. And they're so buried in the execution that they never build a brand and don't realize that a brand is your business. So they might think it's their logo, a font, a color palette, a website, or whatever. What they miss is that the brand is reputation, it's a feeling, and it's an expectation. And they don't really realize that the brand is what makes scaling possible. Without a brand, you're always selling. With a brand, clients come to you. So in short, a brand is the shortcut people use to decide if they trust you.
I think that's super good advice, Bill. I'm excited to dive in. Obviously, I'll be there and checking it out. One of the things I know that you've talked about, because obviously you and I have talked a million times, but you talk about authenticity and clarity in the brand. What do you think are some common missteps that small businesses make in their brand messaging, and how can they correct these?
Couple things. So I think one of the biggest problems also solopreneurs have, I've had it myself. And so everything I'm telling you, I've experienced through my own hand. So you try to be everything to everyone and you end up being nothing to anyone. Clarity is risky, so people generally stay broad and generic because true branding requires clarity. It's who you are, what you stand for, who you serve, and what makes you meaningfully different. So the truth there is narrowing your brand actually expands your business because it makes you the obvious answer for someone. So the way to correct that, honestly, Kirby, is you find the people in the audience most likely to align with your values, your offerings, what you do. Because here's the thing, I don't care if you have the greatest product service in the world, someone will think you suck and they will not buy from you because they think you suck. So wasting energy on those folks is really wasted energy. Second, they underestimate how much easier branding makes their life because a brand gives you messaging guardrails, visual templates, a personality to lean on, and most importantly, it gives prospects clarity before the first contact. I've developed Brandivate to be very much, for anybody who knows me, and you know me as well as anybody in this industry, we're actual friends, not just industry friends. Brandivate is very much an extension of my personality. It's things I like. And so because of that, I tend to attract people that like similar things, and that helps. So that's the correction there is take the time to build a brand that complements you, your vision, and your personality. The third is they think their business is too small for a brand. And I will tell you, it lets you look much bigger than you are. And that's a hugely important thing in a competitive space. It builds trust before the conversation even happens. And it gives an organization individuality. While Brandivate is very much an extension of my personality, it is separate. There are things that are very separate from that. And it's not necessarily a separation of church and state, but there's some lines of delineation there that are important. And this is really huge especially in our industry, if you're a distributor, we're all of us, and I'm a former distributor, all of us sell the same stuff from the same suppliers at about the same price. I don't care who you're with. And we're selling it to the same audience. So it's very difficult to be individualized. And if you are Bill Petrie Consulting or Bill Petrie Promo, that doesn't have the same ring to it as Brandivate or something marketing or whatever you want to call yourself. So to me, it's really the correction is really understand that in an industry where it's extremely difficult to differentiate, a brand will help you do that.
Yeah, and you talked about that narrowing of the focus, and that's something I'll be the first to say I've struggled with. Like, I want to be everybody to everything to everybody, and it's the path of a generalist, right? And it is not the most profitable. So I love your take there. So this is the one that I wanted to talk to you about, because you and I have talked about this offline in the past. Because there's so many tech options out there for automation and CRMs and analytics. Yeah. How do you recommend a small team decide which tools to adopt so they don't drown in tool chaos?
Yeah, to me, transparency, as Kirby would say, he sent me the questions in advance, so I had time to think about them. And this is one where things can get super overwhelming, super quick. And so instead of saying, here are the 4 tools I would use, I broke it down into what problems are you trying to solve? The things you have as a solopreneur. So the first one is time management. It is incredibly important as a solopreneur when you're wearing all the hats you mentioned before, Kirby, including that of janitor, you've got to manage your time well. And so I think Calendly is a great tool for that. There's a lot of tools that will help you do that. I think Calendly helps you really do that. I also use Microsoft, their calendar, through Outlook. Thank you for correcting myself. Outlook, and that's how I track my time. But I also use Calendly for appointments. What's another challenge? Project management. If you've got 16 balls in the air, how do you know which ones need attention, that you're progressing? I think Trello is very, very good for that. Personally, again, there are so many of these, I'm going to say specific tools, and there's so many out there that are similar, might fit you better. So you almost have to try some of these on, but I think it's important to have some of these pretty quickly. Automation is a big one. That's a really big one. Zapier comes to mind because it connects different apps to automate repetitive tasks across a workflow. You can do that with some other things as well, but I think Zapier is clearly the one there. And as a solopreneur, when we all have the same 24 hours in a day, and you're trying to compress as much productivity into that, this is where AI is really good. I'm going to get to AI in a minute. AI is really good at repetitive, mundane tasks to clear up your calendar. Communication. I'm a Google Workspace guy. I know a lot of people like Slack, but communication is there. Again, you need to communicate with your clients. Design. I know a lot of people will probably burn on me for this. I don't care. Canva is excellent at design, and it's gotten better every year, hell, every month. Now you can do vector art in Canva. You have to learn how to do it, but it's not difficult. And you and I talked about this on a podcast years ago about how Canva has truly democratized graphic design, and it has. You still have to have the person behind it who knows what the hell they're doing, and the creativity, but it's an incredible tool for that. And then the one I don't think we think about enough is financial. You want to make it easy for people to give you money. And I do lean on QuickBooks for that. I joke with my clients when I'm onboarding them, no one will invoice you better than I will. And so but in all seriousness, you do want to make it easy for people to give money to you. And so QuickBooks or Stripe or something like that. Number 2 is you got to constantly learn. One of the things I think people are confused on are like what AI agents are, and it's software that acts autonomously to complete tasks using machine learning. Lean into learning. It'll keep you young. I will tell you that right now. But the careful thing with AI, and this is one thing I wanted to share, because I've been a very big advocate of AI and I use AI every day and it's incredibly helpful for me. I use Chat GPT every day as a collaborator. Hell, that's probably the biggest tool I should have put up there. And actually, let's pretend I did. I use Chat GPT for every client. I teach Chat GPT in a specific project file what their voice is, what their tone is, how they like things like that. Not so it'll create things for me, it's so it collaborates with me, so I can write something or produce something and have a independent collaborator judge it for me. And I know Chat GPT can be your biggest hype man. You have to tell it, you need to think critically, you need to challenge me, you need to do all those things. AI is best for things like that right now, things like collaboration, because there's nothing to check, good or bad. It's just you're bouncing an idea of somebody. It's no different than if I went to you or Josh Robbins or somebody else for an idea. But I'm seeing way too many people lean into it. And you can see its limitations. I see people who are making a generic social media post and it's clear that Chat GPT has written it for them. And it's like, I know we're getting dumb at a pretty fast rate. Do you really want to accelerate that? I don't think so. And so careful with AI. Use it, but don't use it to necessarily produce content unless you're really reviewing it and making sure it's exactly your voice. And then the last one, remember when you're small and you talk about scaling. So as you might bring people on board, everybody's a generalist. Everybody needs to know how to do everything. That is key. Because if you start specializing too soon, you as the founder, visionary, leader, CEO, whatever, you're never taking a vacation because you're the only one who knows how to do certain things. And I don't think anybody really wants a life like that.
Yeah, this is great stuff, buddy. This is great. So final question for you.
Yeah.
If you were giving your younger self, younger like me, just starting out, one piece of advice about scaling your business, growing your business from a solo team, what would it be?
My favorite question you asked. Ask yourself, why do you want to scale? When I started doing this by myself, I wanted to grow aggressively. I wanted to get more clients. I wanted to, I talked to you about this. I talked to other people about this. I need to find someone who can help me grow this thing. And I think I came to a realization, why? Why do I want to grow this? And to me, the answer was ego. And so I think you need to, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Why are you wanting to grow and scale? I want to grow my business, but I don't want to scale any longer. I don't want 3 or 4 employees. And people will say, well, why not? And I'll give you the simple math. Let's say I bring somebody on board to do almost everything that I'm doing, another generalist, for lack of a better term. And I grow my business, I don't know, a couple $100,000. Well, I got to pay them. And then I've got payroll tax. I've got all these other things I have to pay. And I'll probably end up making the same amount of money that I'm making right now. And now I've got someone I got to manage. I got someone I've got to worry, are they doing the quality of work that the way I would like it done? And all the things that go with managing people, good and bad. There are good parts too. But I'm not making any more money. And let's be honest, I love doing what I do, but I also, like to provide for my family. So money does factor into it. So it very quickly became a conversation of, I don't think I need to scale. I don't think this is something that is going to be an advertising agency like Ogilvy or something like that. I have no illusions for what Brandvate is. And I will tell you, it was the most freeing thought I've had in the past 3 years, because it was something, as you know, Kirby, it was weighing on me. How do I get there? How do I grow this? And I just think you need to ask yourself the question, do I need to scale? Do I need to scale? Now, for distributors, it's a little bit different, because you could say, I could sell more if I could get someone to do a lot of the follow-up. That makes a little more sense. My business model, that doesn't make sense for. So I think you ask yourself, why do I need to scale? Why do I want to scale?
Yeah, I think the real thing, and you and I have talked about this in different formats, but success is a very personal thing. And I think I love, you had kind of mentioned to me recently that you'd kind of come to that conclusion. And it's one of the reasons I asked that question, because it's like success looks different right? And understanding what that looks like as a foundational piece is so important. So I appreciate this, buddy. So where can people find more information about Bill and Brandivate?
No one wants to find out any information about me, Kirby. You can follow me on LinkedIn. It's Bill Petrie. You can follow me on Facebook. It's petrie.bill. You can go to my website, brandivatemarketing.com. Or here's where you can't find me. TikTok. I'm on TikTok. Sorry.
Well, if you are heading to Expo, I, again, have seen Bill speak. I've been, partners with Bill speaking, and he always delivers. So if you are going to be at Expo, go check him out. Bill, thanks so much. I really appreciate you taking the time. Always get a lot out of it. We'll do it again, okay?
Thank you, man. Always good to see you.
All right, buddy. That's going to wrap up this edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. We'll see you next time.